Every single day, there's this massive, intricate ballet of commerce happening out on our oceans. We're talking billions of dollars in cargo, thousands of ships, all navigating these incredibly crowded shipping lanes. But who's actually conducting this ballet? Well, they're kind of the unseen air traffic controllers of the sea, and they're called Vessel Traffic Services, or VTS. All right, let's get right into it. So, in rooms that look just like this one, you have these highly trained operators who are basically the eyes and ears for our ports and our waterways. They are monitoring everything, making sure that global trade flows smoothly and, most importantly, safely. They're not just watching over cargo, they're watching over countless human lives.
And that is the big question, right? What happens when that routine, everyday ballet gets hit by a sudden violent storm of a crisis? How in the world do you manage chaos on the water from a quiet room on the shore?
And this brings us right to the heart of VTS emergency management. See, it's not about reacting with panic. It's about having a plan so deeply ingrained that the response is just calm, methodical, and immediate. These operators really are the unseen guardians standing against that chaos. So the foundation of all that calm is something called the contingency plan. The best way to think about it is as a super detailed playbook for pretty much any disaster you can imagine. This is not something they make up on the fly. It's a script written long before the crisis ever begins. So why is this playbook so incredibly important? Well, it's really built on these 6 pillars. It's all about spotting the risks before they become a problem, having a standard response so you don't waste a single second, and making sure that everyone, from the Coast Guard to the port authorities, knows exactly what their job is and who's in charge. This isn't just a nice to have, it is the absolute bedrock of maritime safety.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this whole playbook thing actually work in the real world? Let's walk through how these plans get put into action during 2 very different and very high-stakes scenarios.
All right, put yourself in the operator's seat. You're looking at your screen, and you see 2 bright little dots, and they are getting closer and closer. Those dots are 2 massive ships, and they are on a direct collision course. You can just feel the clock ticking, right? Now, this number here is super important. It stands for the closest point of approach, or CPA. If the system calculates that 2 ships are going to pass within half a nautical mile of each other, all the alarms in an operator's head start blaring. And that's not some random number. It's a critical safety threshold, an international standard designed to give these huge ships enough room to actually maneuver and avoid disaster. And here's the other piece of the puzzle. This is the time to closest point of approach, TCPA. If that close call is going to happen in less than 15 minutes, you can't just sit and watch anymore. You have to act. Why 15 minutes? Well, a giant container ship doesn't exactly turn on a dime. That's pretty much the minimum window operators need to step in and make a difference before things get irreversible. And this just lays out the whole protocol beautifully. It's a tiered response, and it escalates as the danger ramps up. So more than 20 minutes out, it's just a friendly heads up. Between 10 and 20 minutes, it becomes a very strong suggestion. But once you're under 10 minutes, the VTS operator takes control. It's no longer a suggestion, it is a direct, clear command. And if a collision looks imminent, they're already on the line with search and rescue and telling other ships to clear the area. Okay, let's switch gears completely. What about a totally different kind of crisis? What happens when the danger isn't out on the water, but right there in the VTS center itself? Suddenly, all your screens go black. Your communication system fails. You are flying blind. You guessed it, there's a plan for this too. First step is just to figure out what happened. Is it a small glitch or a total blackout? Right away, backup systems are kicking in and the tech teams are getting the alert. But step 3 is the really crucial part, continuity. The operators get on the radio, they broadcast that they're on a degraded service, and they might even ask ships to start calling in their positions manually. They're basically building a mental map of the harbor while the tech wizards are working furiously to get the system back online. So we've looked at a ship-to-ship crisis and an internal system failure. But VTS also has to deal with emergencies that start completely outside their control, things like a major pollution event or just really, really bad weather. And for these situations, there's a universal 5-part framework. You starting to see the pattern here? Detect, assess, notify, manage, and document. It's a systematic approach that makes sure no matter what the crisis is, the core response is always consistent, always thorough. Yeah, something like a ship fire or a big oil spill can create absolute chaos on the water.
Just think about it for a second. You've got fireboats racing to the scene, you've got skimmers trying to deploy booms to contain the spill, the Coast Guard is showing up, and all of these responders are creating a brand new, chaotic traffic pattern right in the middle of a busy shipping lane. The emergency response itself can actually become a hazard.
And this is where VTS truly becomes the calm in the storm. From their command center, they are literally choreographing the chaos. They'll set up a clear no-go zone for any ship that isn't essential, and they'll broadcast constant warnings. Then they're proactively calling ships that are still miles away, steering them onto new, safe routes, so the emergency crews have the space they need to do their jobs. They become the operational hub for the entire response. So let's pull back for a second, because it's really important to get that these local VTS centers aren't just operating in a bubble. They are a critical link in a much larger global safety net that's designed to keep our oceans safe and secure. Now, two really key parts of this global net are the ISPS and ISM codes. Here's the easiest way to tell them apart. The ISPS code is all about security, so protecting against intentional threats like terrorism. And the ISM code is all about safety, preventing accidents through good procedures and management. You absolutely need both. The ISPS code works on these three security levels. Level 1 is just your normal, everyday standard. Level 2 gets triggered when there's a heightened risk or a specific threat has been identified. And Level 3? Well, that means a threat is considered imminent and it triggers maximum security measures across all ports and ships. And VTS is right there, playing a key role in monitoring and enforcing these levels. And this brings us to what is maybe the most critical part of this whole emergency management cycle. See, the work isn't over just because the danger has passed. In fact, that's when the most important phase really begins, the learning. Every single event, from a major accident all the way down to a near miss where disaster was avoided by inches, is carefully classified. Now, why do that? Because a near miss is basically a free lesson. It's a chance to figure out what went wrong and fix it before it turns into a real accident with real consequences. And to make sure that learning can actually happen, everything gets documented. We're talking every single VHF radio call, every radar track, every decision an operator makes. It's all recorded, saved, and analyzed. This incredibly detailed logbook becomes the raw data for building a safer future. And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. It's this continuous loop of preparing, responding, and then learning. That calm that a VTS operator shows during a crisis isn't just a personality trait. It's the direct result of relentless planning and the wisdom they've gathered from every single incident that came before. It ensures that every crisis, no matter how chaotic, becomes a lesson that makes the whole system stronger for the next storm that's inevitably on the horizon.